Hello, Joe from Mont Marte here again. In today's lesson we'll be painting a still life in the traditional chiaroscuro style. Chiaroscuro is just a fancy word meaning contrast between light and dark. And I'll be showing you how to take a few shortcuts without compromising on the end result. To create this illusion, for the undercoat we will be using Mont Marte's fine quality acrylics, mainly for their fast drying and their flexible attributes. For the top coat, we will be using Mont Marte fine quality oils for the beautiful colours and that look you can only get from oil paints. Now, the first step of creating a still life is of course setting up the still life. And I've done that with just things that I've had lying around the house in what I think is a reasonable sort of composition. Once you have set up your still life, we need to transfer the outline onto the canvas. As this is a bit more of an advanced lesson, I won't go too much into the drawing. If you would like to pick up a few drawing tricks, you can have a look at Mont Marte TV, and lessons like the Oriental Still Life and Charcoal Boots will help you lots there. For the underpainting, I'm going to use acrylic as I said before, and I'll be using the 12 pack of acrylic colours for these. I love these things, there's a really good range of colours in them. I'm going to use the traditional wooden palette to hold and mix our paint, and I'm going to use this fantastic brush set. There comes 7 brushes come with it. You get rounds, flats, filberts and a really useful angle.
So squeeze out each colour onto your palette.
We've laid our paint onto our palette, and the first thing we have to do is establish the dark tones in the background. So let's get into it. I'm mixing up a dark colour from burnt umber and black. Just scrub it on there. Moisten your brush as you go. Remember, this is the undercoat, so it doesn't need to look too pretty. We're just establishing tone.
Cover the entire background and use the same colour on the table. This will tie it all together nicely.
Our background has now been done. It's time to paint our tablecloth. And we mix up a nice blue-grey for this. Remember, the colour will be dark, and when we put the lighter oil over it, it'll really make it vibrant.
The grey is simply black, white and a dot of ultramarine.
With this grey, it's really just a little bit of pigment and mainly water.
Paint the corner of the tablecloth with a darker tone to suggest a different plane. Now mix a darker tone to block in the main elements such as the bowl and the glass. Don't worry about it looking too dark. We are establishing the shadows and shapes.
Once you are happy with your acrylic underbase, it's time to lay on the oil paint. And for this, we will be using a new timber oval palette. We'll be using the 12 pack oil paint range. And I will be recommending that we use the oil colour brush set. So squeeze all your paint out and let's get painting. So again, start with the background. And what we're really trying to do with this is to bring the colour down at least 1 key. So that means a little bit lighter.
For the light area on the background, mix a dirty green from white, ochre and sap green. Then apply it around the vase and leaves, blending it into the dark background as you go.
Our background is now done. I'm moving on to my vase now, and it's just an off-white colour. So I've created the off-white colour from a little bit of titanium, a spot of light green, and a little bit of ochre. I'm just placing it over the acrylic underbase, like this, and this will give it more body.
Lighten and darken as you go wherever you think the painting needs it. Now for the shadows.
When you're creating a shadow, remember that shadows are cool, so mix in a little blue. I'm doing the tablecloth now, and I'm doing it in titanium white.
Thin your paint with a little terps. This allows for it to flow better and create a lovely translucent wash. I'm using the scrubbing technique here to create a broken surface.
So onto the glass now, and the whole glass will just be whites and varying shades of grey.
Paint the glass exactly how you see it.
So we're creating a highlight with pure white.
For that sheen effect, drag a dry brush over the areas that need it. Remember the darks as well. Now for the apples, apply a mixture of white, green and burnt umber to the fleshy parts, remembering to add a little bit more burnt umber to the side in shadow. Now add the crimson to the apple skin, adding dark green to the areas of shadow. Take a close look at the apple in your still life, paying special attention to how the light affects the colours, and be mindful of ants. Notice the yellows and the white reflections on the whole apple. Now paint the green onto the leaves, adding lights and darks to different planes on the leaf. The stem is tubular, so paint the back side darker than the front, because the front receives more light.
Our main elements are now completely rendered. It's time for detailing. And to help me with my detailing, I've made a mahl stick, and I've done this with the tip of a washing up glove with a little bit of tissue paper held onto the brush with a rubber band. Okay, so use your mahl stick by gently resting it onto the canvas like that, resting your hand on it, and you can see that my hand there is quite secure, and this will enable me to do really nice straight lines without any bumps, and it'll stop me smudging as well.
To emulate translucent ceramics, thin your colours down with terps. Apply the design by varying pressure on your brush.
Now for the highlights. Just use pure titanium white for this, and I can see them on top of the vase there and on the glass.
Again, paint what you see, not what you think you see with highlights. This is one of my favourite steps of a painting.
Well, I've really enjoyed painting this. Try a traditional tonal approach to picture building. It will really help you in all styles of painting. So until next time, give this a go and keep on painting.